Story 1. Ceiling fans. Every time I'm under one, I can't help but think it's going to fly off and slice through the air like a boomerang. I always find myself eyeing it suspiciously. Story 2. Being physically, emotionally, or financially dependent on someone else. As I get older, this has me confronting seriously uncomfortable questions about the endgame when my time comes. Story 3. I have a phobia that I'm going to go ice skating one day, slip on the ice, my hand will lay out, and someone will skate over my hand and slice my fingers off. Story 4. I am 30 and have all of a sudden been diagnosed with pseudodysphagia. It's a fear of choking. It has come out of nowhere, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I had never even heard of it before. I am currently waiting for therapy and have never experienced anything like it in my life. It's crazy. Story 5. Sex, no matter how aroused I get, I will always be terrified of having sex. It's like, oh no, another person I'd want to have sex with is trying to have sex with me. The time has come again for me to run away in abject horror. Story 6. Okay, get ready to call the psychiatric ward. When I was in grade school, 4th or 5th grade, I used to have to walk part of the way home. I was terrified of the overhead power lines, afraid they would fall on me or something. To appease the power line gods, I would sing to them. Apparently, this worked since no power lines fell on me. Story 7. I'm scared of things that are huge. Weirdly enough, not skyscrapers, but standing near an airplane or ferry, for example. Once I'm inside, it's fine though. A whale would definitely freak me out. Story 8. When I had my first and only son, I had the most irrational fear of someone harming him. I didn't let anyone take care of him for the first 2 years of his life, and even after that, it was very minimal until he was about 4. He's 6 now, but I seriously have no idea why I had that fear and had it for so long. Story 9. I have a very irrational fear of butterflies. I had a babysitter when I was 3, 4, and 5 who told me that butterflies were poisonous and if they landed on you and bit you, you would die. It took me years to realize this was not true, then years of therapy to be able to not freak out when butterflies were around. I am now over 60 and my heart still rushes when butterflies are close to me. I know I won't die, but just be really careful of what you tell little ones. A lot of that stuff makes a real impact. Story 10. Trypophobia. The fear of clusters of holes. A vague definition. Misophonia. An extreme aversion to certain sounds such as chewing, whistling, tapping, and so on. Story 11. I'm scared of going up or down an escalator. Not the smooth ones, but the ones with steps. I'm always terrified of misplacing my foot and falling. Plus, I have long hair that can get stuck at the end. I am also scared of crabs. I once dreamed one pinched me, and since then, they terrify me. Their whole anatomy and movement just freak me out. Story 12. Don't know how unusual, but shots. Backstory. Mom was a hardcore heroin addict, found needles lying around everywhere. But hey, I haven't talked to her in 8 years and now have a master's in robotics engineering. Whoop whoop. Story 13. Accidentally dropping car keys down a storm drain. I will avoid all drains when walking. I've never dropped my keys, so where this fear comes from is beyond me. Story 14. Dolls. They are unnatural creatures, clearly not human but look way too human for anything else. Plus, they are so small they can hide pretty much anywhere. And no, I haven't even seen Chucky. Story 15. That if I drive on the steeply pitched Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Florida, my car will fall off backwards. Apparently, a lot of people share this fear because they have parking lots at both entrances to the bridge in case you take one look and opt out. Story 16. Alligators and crocodiles. As for why, that's easy. I am fearful of anything that has survived the Cretaceous-Tertiary extinction and has not changed for almost 70 million years. They were just as cold-blooded and threatening during that time, and nothing has changed. So yes, I am fearful of anything that has survived extinction events that wiped out the dinosaurs. I know birds survived, but not fearful of those. Alligators and crocodiles? Yes. Story 17. Store mannequins. I don't know why, but I just feel like they are going to start moving, and I am aware of all of them and their location when I'm in a shop. Story 18. Dying due to being a klutz. I work on 53-foot expanded semi-trucks and have to climb on them, put my head underneath them, etc. They are powered by 400 amps, so that's a thing too. Work at my job can be risky. Story 19. Outer space. I am not agoraphobic or anything, but any scene where they go outside a spaceship, I straight up cannot watch. Sometimes when I look up at the stars and realize there is nothing but atmosphere held by gravity keeping me from being suffocated, frozen, or exploded, I have to go inside where there is a roof. Story 20. Sirens. I was in 6th grade during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The teacher told the class that if we heard the sirens, we should start to pray because destruction was on its way. I've never been comfortable with the sound of sirens since that day. Story 21. Honestly, neck kinks terrify me. What if it just kinks too hard one day and I'm paralyzed for life because I tried to stretch the kink out too far? It terrifies me to the point that when it happens, I accept the pain and just sit there in the position it's hurting in. Story 22. I realize everyone is turned off by them, but I am terrified of maggots. I had trouble typing the word. Terrified to the point that I cannot move. I got them on my hand once, and after I could finally make my legs work, I scrubbed my hand with a Brillo pad until it was bleeding. Story 23. I'm so scared of moths, but not of spiders, flies, snakes, bees, wasps, or lizards. To clarify, I'm Australian and have had multiple encounters with snakes. Spiders are basically a part of life. Lizards also live under my house and love it there. There's a tiny wasp nest on my porch, and bees are also everywhere. Flies own Australia. Out of all these creatures, only moths terrify me. They fly in this erratic, drunk way that always seems to be geared towards your face. They have weird powdery wings. This be simults. I would take a lizard or bee any day over a moth. Story 24. I use my daughter's bathroom in the morning so my wife can sleep in a little and not disturb her. I have to walk down the hall after leaving our bedroom and enter the bathroom through the office door to it and not through my daughter's bedroom so I don't wake her. It is a Jack and Jill bathroom between her bedroom and my wife's office. She is 6 if you are asking. I pass the stairs to the first floor on the way, and it is dark in the morning this time of year. I have this absurd fear there is an entity downstairs that comes after me, and I am safe once I am in my daughter's bathroom with the door closed. Story 25. I am afraid of drowning. A buddy of mine and I were swimming in the river and got pulled into the current. It took me half a mile downstream, but I was tangled in an ungodly amount of fishing line binding me because the bottom of the river tumbled like a washing machine. They found him 2 weeks later. Story 26. Wrinkling my forehead. I do not totally know where it started. In childhood pictures, I always wrinkled it when I smiled, but it has been years since I wrinkled my forehead. Even thinking of it makes me cringe and feel very uncomfortable. Story 27. I have had nightmares about tiny holes in my hands, spreading up my arms and body since I was a kid. Now, as an adult, I get these tiny blisters on my palms when I am stressed, and it is almost exactly like the nightmares I had as a kid. I cannot look at them without my entire body cringing and feeling anxious and panicky. Story 28. Those machines in the hospital that carry blood and supplies all over the facility. What if they have consciousness? Decide to run you down or knock you out of a window? They get on the elevator with you and make it fall? They creep me out so bad. Story 29. I waited 35 years to have a tarot card reading. It was just for fun, but it always weirded me out a little. Anyway, they said I was going to suffer a great loss the following month. This was June 5th of this year. The examples she used were that it could be losing my house, a person, money, or divorce. Just a loss in general and to be prepared. Anyway, exactly 1 month later, on July 5th, I totaled my car. I no longer mess with that stuff. Story 30. When I was a kid, I would always be on my bike with friends around the neighborhood. I would cycle home to friends' houses and grandparents' houses. Being a kid, I would often take a tumble here and there. Scraped knees, nothing worse. My biggest fear, and I do not know why, was coming off my bike and falling in such a way that I would scrape my nipples off on the tarmac. Story 31. It'll make me sound pretty bad, here we go. Several years ago, I was fixing some windows in an assisted living type of home. The kind of home that houses several special needs people with varying levels of assistance. One of the tenants was nonverbal except for some deep grunting. Every time I turned around, he would get closer and grunt loudly, and all I could think was that this guy's going to jump on my back. I don't know why this was the first thing I thought, but it was. Now, every time I'm around people with special needs, I have the irrational fear they are going to pounce on me. Story 32. I used to be afraid of wrapping the leash around my hand in a way that would keep it tightly in my hand, fearing that aliens would abduct me and beam me up in a tractor beam, causing the leash to strangle or snap the neck of my dog as I got pulled up. Story 33. I'm sitting on a chair with a single bar holding it up. Then the seat collapses, and the bar goes through me like a sword. I call them sword chairs, and I never sit on them. If it's my only choice, I will choose to sit on the floor. Story 34. Always kind of wanted to skydive. However, every time I think about it, I immediately imagine landing in either a hog lagoon or a wastewater treatment tank. Every time. I even dream about it. Absolutely no idea why. Story 35. Thomas the Tank Engine and all his friends. I loved it as a toddler. Then I saw the episode, The Flying Kipper, where there is a massive crash and derailment, and I ran out of the room screaming and crying. I was 3. I'm nearly 42. I still get jump scares at kids' backpacks. Story 36. Lava. For the record, the closest volcano to me is about 2,000 miles away, so my chances of ever seeing it in person unintentionally are around 0%. But when I was a kid, I would have trouble sleeping for fear of it creeping into my room. It still freaks me out seeing videos of it. I think the scenes from the movies Volcano and Dante's Peak kind of damaged me at a young age. If you've seen those movies, you know the ones. Story 37. I get people who are afraid of elevators, but is no one deathly afraid of escalators? I hate them so much. Sure, I have a fear of heights, but now I'm moving too. I could break my neck on those things and die. Story 38. Flying cockroaches. This is childhood post-traumatic stress disorder from growing up in a tropical country where all sorts of insects are abundant. I'm also deathly afraid of cicadas, but cockroaches inspire a paralyzing fear in me from years of being landed on by kamikaze roaches. I can't even look at a picture of them. Not the crawling Madagascar ones, the flying ones. Surprisingly, I'm not scared of spiders, even huntsman ones. I don't know how to get over it. Story 39. Dinosaurs. Yes, I am scared of a creature that hasn't been around for 65 million years. I have no idea why, but when Jurassic Park was about to come out and I saw trailers for it, I had nightmares every night for years. Story 40. If I'm outdoors and a random bug lands anywhere on my exposed skin, I immediately start thinking it has a little poker that injects eggs into my skin everywhere it goes. Story 41. I'm afraid of deer. One of my first memories was my dad driving with me and my mom, driving home on the interstate, and losing control of the wheel while trying to evade a large deer. Story 42. I have a profound and wholly unfounded fear of developing fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, the condition where all your muscles and tendons slowly turn to bone, inevitably suffocating you with your own ossified rib cage. Story 43. When I was a kid, I had an irrational fear that while I was swimming, hidden doors would open up in the pool and a huge shark would swim out and eat me, killing everyone. It didn't stop me from swimming, but I thought about it a lot. Story 44. Falling into a large water pipe, like something actively flowing water, scares the crap out of me. This is fascinating to watch but scary at the same time. Story 45. I have reverse acrophobia. Instead of looking down at something high and getting scared, I look up at something high and I get scared, which is bad because I love skyscrapers. Story 46. I get nervous anytime someone holds a sharp object in a somewhat threatening manner. Like even in the kitchen while cooking, I get really uncomfortable if someone holds up a knife. Story 47. I'm really scared of drains, such as shower drains, pool grates, and even slightly of sink drains, because of the show 1000 Ways to Die. I know I shouldn't be scared at all, but I just can't stop. Story 48. Teeth. The whole idea of them freaks me out. People talking about them or anything. I am lucky to have great teeth, and I take good care of them purely out of fear of tooth pain or having to go to the dentist, God forbid. Story 49. I have a strange fear of balloons. It wasn't just the sound of them popping, but also the thought of them flying away and disappearing forever made me anxious. I guess I just can't understand the idea of something so colorful and interesting disappearing. Story 50. Plugging things in. When I was little, I plugged a cord in that had been chewed on, and sparks and loud noises followed. I can do it most times, but I have many moments where I just ask someone else to do it. Story 51. I watched a 20 episode about escalators sucking people in by their pant legs and maiming them as a kid, and I used to freeze and sob every time I had to get on one. I still stay pretty close to the middle of the steps if I can help it. Story 52. The car washes that pull your car through. Sitting in the driver's seat of a moving car that I am not controlling makes me panic. I instinctively try to brake and steer. I can be a passenger with no problem, though. I have been divorced for 6 months, and my car is very dirty. I guess he was useful for something. Going to need to start hand washing. Sigh. Story 53. Suddenly coming into contact with animals that shouldn't be in small bodies of water. For example, go for a swim in the lake and there's a great white shark. Get into the swimming pool and there's a great white shark. Put your head under the water in the bathtub and suddenly a great white shark is staring you right in the face. But also all these as well with alligator, anaconda, etc. Story 54. I have post-traumatic stress disorder and frequently feel like someone is going to assault me, even at home alone. It is so irrational to think someone is going to punch me too. I am a big guy, you would be pretty dumb to smack me, but here we are. Oddly enough, I just spent a week in a big city where people are everywhere and strangers are talking to me, and I have not felt afraid once. The mind is a weird thing for sure.